Brandon. Thank you for joining me today on Pop Culture Unplugged.
Hey Elias, thanks so much for having me.
And I love it. We connected on Instagram. We finally got this interview down packed. Man, Cobra Kai season 6. First of all, like, how excited are you that joining a show like this?
I am so incredibly pumped. I've been a fan of the show for like since season one, and I'm also a lifetime martial artist. So to be on a show like this and for this to be my first like acting role is just it still hasn't really hit me that I'm like actually gonna be in a show. I don't think until I see actually watch it will am I gonna be like, oh, okay, I'm actually there. You know what I mean? It still feels like a dream come true. So yeah.
Let's get into a little bit of the journey too. Like you said, you mentioned, off the era, this is one of your biggest projects now. Tell us a little about that. Like, what made you get into the acting business? What made you like go for this? You said you have a big martial arts background. Was that part of it that you wanted to jump into action, TV, films?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I grew up doing taekwondo because my father owns a taekwondo school in Minnesota. So I grew up there doing martial arts pretty much my whole life. I don't even remember life without martial arts. Like apparently I could kick before I could walk. Um but yeah, so I always watched the movies like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Ninja Turtles, Power
Yeah.
Rangers, all those kinds of shows, and I would always just try to copy them nonstop and just train all day pretty much. So I always had that passion from the beginning. And I realized that I didn't really enjoy school. I like wasn't very good at school. I wasn't really um yeah, just I felt much more artistic, and so the arts kind of
Mm.
spoke to me. And then yeah, I went to a talent school in Minnesota and uh luckily got representation out here. So I decided well, school's not really for me, so let's just try it, This opportunity came about and I feel like I'm gonna regret it if I don't try. And yeah, 6 years later, here we are.
That's amazing. You mentioned Taekwondo. My daughter does Taekwondo. She's
Oh,
9 years
awesome.
old. Yeah.
Oh,
She
awesome.
actually has
What?
right after this, she's got class that we got to take her to.
Oh, really nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So she's been doing it for a few years now.
Uh-huh.
There's days where, she gets intimidated, like she struggles, but then there's other days you're like, who's this other person that's on the mat
Yeah.
today?
Yeah, for sure. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. So tell us about how did the Cobra Kai audition come up?
So you know what's funny is Cobra Kai was actually one of my very first auditions when I moved to
Okay.
LA. I think it was season one. I can't even remember like what season I auditioned for, but it was way back then. Totally bombed the audition. I don't even think like it made it far. Like I don't even remember what character it was for. But yeah, I auditioned again April of 2023. I
Okay.
sent in a self-tape and I was like super stoked. Like I said, I was a big fan of the show and I felt like I resonated with the character a lot. I love that they were exploring a world in Korea as well.
Yeah.
As you can see, we're Sensei Kim's students. So I was like, oh, this is so cool. I really, really hope I book this one. And yeah, I sent the tape in April, and then about a week later I met the big three, John, Josh, and Hayden, the creators of the show. I met them on Zoom, did a did an audition with them. Um, and then the strike happened. So for like right after that callback audition, they told me they were interested, but they couldn't lock down or anything because just because of the strike.
Mm.
So pretty much for 8 months, I was like just waiting to hear, wait, am I gonna be in the show? Am I gonna be in the show? And then I found out in January, about like 1 week before I went and shot episode 3. So yeah, it was like a whirlwind of emotions like spread out for a really long time.
Right. And
But
it's
yeah.
amazing, you mentioned you auditioned a few times for the show, but it's like now, like you must be happy that you got this role because, like I mentioned to you on the DM, like you're such a
uh
badass in this first 5 episodes that we see you
Thank you.
in.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm super stoked. Like I think I heard this from Ralph Macchio, the OG Karate Kid. In his audiobook, he said something along the lines of that whatever role you book is going to be meant for you. The right role will find you. So
Mm,
it's like looking back at all of this and then looking back at how this came about, it just feels like, oh, this was the right time and for me to, be a part of this show in the final
yeah.
season. I got the tail end of it. I'm so grateful to be a part of like this amazing show and yeah.
So like the Karate Kid, it's got a huge fan base. Cobra Kai, I believe it got even bigger.
Uh-huh.
Are you ready for the hate? Because some people are gonna come out there coming after you for this character. From what we've seen so far. What do
Yeah.
you think?
I mean, so far it's been so overwhelmingly positive. Like the Cobra
Yeah,
Kai fans are the absolute best. Like I mean, as we're recording this, I haven't even seen it. The show hasn't been out. I've only seen the trailer, and already the Cobra Kai fans have been super, super nice. But no, I mean, Tanner Buchanan, who plays Robbie, even told me he's like, dude, you play a bad guy, don't look at the internet.
right,
That's the
right.
advice he gave me.
I had a few cast members for the previous seasons that they don't even
Yeah.
want to go on social media because they're getting destroyed by these fans. And they're like, I'm just playing a character, like leave.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I really hope people don't think I'm actually Kwon because yeah, he is a bit of a bad word that I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kwon, what can you tell us about this character and how would you say he fits in this Cobra Kai universe?
You know, I think we've seen a lot of like quote unquote villains throughout this
Yeah,
whole amazing franchise. Um, Definitely I think he has a hint of like chosen flavor on him. I remember when I
uh,
actually did the audition for the callback, they actually wanted me to be a little darker and they were saying like think Karate Kid too. So shout out to Yuji. And I remember like I wanted to make sure I didn't rewatch Karate Kid 2 before I did my audition because I didn't want it to influence my performance too much. In respects to Yuji's amazing performance, I
yeah,
didn't want to copy him, you know. But I just remember he's just kind of has this like this aura of like he doesn't give a crap about what anyone thinks. He doesn't even think anyone should be able to touch him or be in the same room as him, you know? But I think what he brings to the show is just that like relentless energy of just not really caring about anything but the goal. He kind of really just embodies what a Cobra is, I think.
yeah,
Like fully, I think a lot of the other characters that have, bounced around from Cobra Kai to Miyagi-Do, they obviously have like this other side of them that's more of like a
mm,
uh more of that Miyagi side, but I think Kwon is kind of just a straight up savage,
yeah,
like in the fight, this is a spoiler alert, but like he punches Yoon straight in the neck. And I remember Don Lee, our fight coordinator, when we were doing that, I was like, hey, can I put in like a throat chop instead? Because I wanted to pay homage to like Taekwondo, and that's a move that we actually have in our forms. And he's
yeah,
like, yeah, but when have you ever seen someone punch someone in the neck? And I was
mm.
like, yeah, that's pretty violent. Let's do that. That it shows who this character is, So he really has no mercy, and yeah, I think that's
So
what he brings to the show.
you
Yeah.
mentioned Yuji and Chosen. One of the biggest things that are people that are writing on these forums and everything that they think that's your
Mhm.
dad in the show. That's the rumor
Oh,
that Chosen
really?
is going to be Kwan's dad. I'm like, no, it's not. But
Oh,
how awesome would that have been for your character if that was something like
yeah,
that would
that would be
happen?
really cool. I mean, yeah, I think with people dive deeper, it's like Kwon's from Korea and Yuji's obviously,
Right,
or Chosen's obviously from Japan. So I don't think it's necessarily possible, but who knows? Maybe they're long lost like
right,
nephew, uncle, or something, you know?
yeah. So I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, when I watched it, I call your character the badass, right? What aspects of this character you think stands out, and how do you prepare to play like this character on screen?
Um, honestly, I think a lot of it is like, oh, well, it's like the hair already. I got to give
Yeah,
credit to where credit's due. Kevin, our amazing hair stylist, was he made that character like it's just one of those iconic things where it's like it's almost like Hawk, or like where it's like when you see them, it's like it's that. So honestly, I didn't feel like Quan until he sprayed a whole bottle of hairspray in my hair and did his magic. Um, but yeah, I think sorry, what was your question one more time?
like what do you think makes him stand out, and like how did you prepare to like play this character?
Yeah, I think also like bringing something new to the table. We have seen Korean characters in the past, but now we're speaking a lot more Korean, and I
Mm,
think there's a little bit of like K-drama influence as well. Like both Daniel Kim, who plays Yoon, and I both like watch a lot of Korean movies, so we kind of put a lot of that flavor in there as well. But I think yeah, I think just kind of like he just kind of has this certain like swag and aura to him, I guess, where he's just
Mm,
extremely cocky. And I try to embody it when I play him of just even the way he walks. Um, Even in the fight where I tell them to hurry up and come fight me, like that was all improvised on the day. It was just something I kind of felt in the moment. And yeah, I think just kind of having the audacity to do like stuff like that, I
yeah.
think makes Quan stand out.
When
Yeah.
you mentioned this part, right away, what I thought of was the old Bruce Lee movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, come on, come on. Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
uh,
Yeah.
for Kwon also, like we see him, he interacts with John Kreese and then Kim.
Mhm,
Who do
mhm,
you like? I know you can't, I know you probably can't tell us things about the second part of Cobra
mhm.
of season 6, but like who do you think he pulls towards more? Kim or John, would you
Um,
say?
I think we, I think this is spoiler free. Like, I think we see it in episode 3 where, like, Sensei Kim doesn't really like Kwon because he's not really tameable to her. Like, he doesn't
Yeah.
listen to anything she says, and Yoon is the perfect student in her eyes, where he's gonna do what she says. But I think Kreese comes and sees the raw, like that anger. What it's
Yeah.
like the same thing he did with Johnny. It's the same thing he did with Tori. Same
Yeah.
thing he did with Robbie. He saw the anger in them and was like, "You can use that as your power." So I think he kind of teaches Quan that, and that's the reason of the whole fight. He's like, Quan confronts Kreese, and Kreese is like, "Well, quit whining, do something about it, go do something, prove it, So I think there's like kind of those parallels where you see like how Kreese kind of manipulates these people by seeing the anger in them. But I think Quan really like he finally feels like someone understands him. Like he has all
Mm,
of this built up anger, which is the reason why he is the way he is. And for someone to finally see that in him and be like, you can actually, that's your superpower. I think he finally is like, okay, maybe I can listen to this guy.
well,
Yeah.
you mentioned you have a lot of martial arts training. Is there something that you learned new filming this series? That
Um, for sure. I think every project I learn a lot. Like this one in particular, I was so amazed by how like my experience in the past working in stunts has always been in movies. So
okay.
generally in movies we have a lot more time to prep. In TV, especially Cobra Kai, like we're just moving super fast. Like I've worked on shows where I'm a stunt double and I've trained an actor for 3 months before we even shoot.
Wow.
This time, like we were learning choreography on set, and then I was talking to a lot of the other actors. They're saying that that's how it usually is. So no, I learned a lot too, and like just like like it amazed me that much more. Like because I always thought they had a bunch of time to train. They don't have too much, and they're still that good,
Yeah.
which is absolutely amazing. So definitely like being able to be like spontaneous and just trust the training and trust the magic, onset magic, and trust your fellow castmates and trust the crew is definitely something I learned a lot.
Amazing. Without giving out too much, because I know you can't give us too much on his journey. Like, what would you say?
Uh-huh.
What can you tease about Kwan's journey now for the rest of the seasons, the rest of the
The
parts?
rest of the seasons. Okay. Ooh, this is a good one. This is where we get into the danger zone because it's kind of all blurred to me. It's all together,
Yeah.
but we're separating it in parts. Um, I'll just say I think how the fans are already making all these assumptions of like, oh, who's Kwon gonna face this and that. Like
Yeah.
that's why I think what's so amazing about Cobra Kai is there's so many amazing characters in the show that you kind of
Yeah.
like want to play this mix and match of scenarios and I think the fans have a lot to look forward to and who Kwon goes up against. And not just Kwon, but all of the Sensei Kim and Kreese's new dojo, what they go up against. It's gonna be a crazy ride. I'll just say
Yeah.
that.
When you were reading the script and you were finding out who Kwan faces, were you getting excited facing some of these characters? Like, what went through your mind?
Well, what's funny is like actually when I even booked the show, I had no clue what the arc of Quan was.
Okay.
All my audition sides were only in the episode 3. And Hayden, one of the creators of the show, was pulling me aside like whenever he had the chance in between like setups and shots of like telling me the arc of the character. So
Yeah.
he was telling me kind of like what happens, and I was just like fanboying like crazy, like, oh, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. Which I can't say obviously, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of funny because every time he was about to say like a really awesome part, they would need me on set. So it was like the biggest cliffhanger, just like, and I was like kind of giving Hayden a hard time because I was like, that's exactly what you've done to me on my TV on Netflix for all these
Right.
years, where you make me feel like I have to wait for a while to hear the best part, you know? But yeah, no, I was definitely geeking out like crazy. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's how I was too, because I had the screeners and I watched the first five, and as soon as episode five ended, the way it ended, I'm like, I
Yeah.
gotta wait 4 or 5 months for the next
Yeah.
set.
They're really good at doing that. I think that's a huge testament. Like shout out to all the to the creators and the writers room and the producers. Just they're really good at
Right, right.
doing that, keeping you hooked in and building the anticipation.
What we've
Uh,
seen throughout these seasons too for Cobra Kai too is, like we saw, like, Johnny Lawrence. He's
mhm,
he still has his little battles with Daniel, but he's on the good side now. Chosen the same thing. Mike Barnes the
right.
same thing. What do you think? You think we see Kwon 5, 6 years from now in his own show being good? What's your thoughts on all
Uh,
that?
oh, never say never. You never know. I mean, we're so early in the phase right now. I guess
Yeah,
I kind of want to leave that up to the fans on what they think. Do they think he's a Cobra ride or die, or is he someone that has a little Miyagi in him, maybe?
yeah,
I don't know, but I guess my opinion is kind of like what I said earlier. I think he's more purebred than
right.
some of the others. Like I think he's just kind of straight Cobra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's great is, like you said, Cobra. Brandon H. Lee is gonna be Cobra Kai now for the rest of your life. You're always gonna have that as part of your legacy, your future, right?
Yeah, man, that's insane. Like literally when you said that, it gave me chills just to like even think of that. Like I said, I'm super honored to be part of this legacy because it's absolutely it's legendary. It's literally a part of pop culture, like you're showing it, you know.
Right.
It's literally such a big part of pop culture. So yeah, to be a small part of it is absolutely amazing.
Is your plan to get up and watch all those 5 episodes when they come out?
Oh, 1000%. 1000%. I'm gonna binge that so fast. Yeah. I mean, we have to premiere in 2 days, like the day before the show comes out. But I think we're only watching the first couple episodes, so I'm definitely gonna have to binge the other three because
Yeah.
even for me, like actually don't know what really happens too much outside of my episode that I was
Yeah.
in, episode three. So other than that, like as a fan, I'm so excited to see like what happens? Yeah.
Mhm. Out of this whole cast and everything, is there somebody, like, because I know you can't tell us that much, but is there somebody that
Um,
you wish you had more scenes with, or you didn't get a chance to work with, but maybe you'll work with them in the future on a different project?
oh man. Do you mean just like in part one in general or just like the whole
Well,
project?
you've already filmed the whole series, but I know,
Yeah.
like, is there somebody like you didn't have that many scenes with that you kind of hope that you wish you did, or
Um, Honestly, just interacting more with a lot of the senseis, like
okay,
from the opposing senseis, like Miyagi senseis, or just like even just the honestly just everyone because like it just
yeah,
happens so fast, it is still like a sub 40-minute show, I believe. So
yeah,
there's so many characters and there's so much stuff that has to happen. I did get to interact with a lot of them, I'll say that, but like obviously I always wanted to interact more. I guess I'll just tease like I wish it would have been sick to interact more with maybe Yuji. Chosen
yeah,
see Kwon and
yeah.
Chosen go at it.
There you go.
But yeah.
Behind the scenes, did you get any advice from people like Ralph or Billy or even like Barnes or even Yuji about being in a series like this, being part of this, what was, like this fan base that you're going to be joining,
Yeah.
everybody's going to be tuning in?
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, episode three, the first episode I was in, Ralph Macchio directed that one. So
Okay.
definitely being able to like pick his brand and just like he was such an amazing director. I think he's like an actor's director because he's an actor himself, so he can really explain things to you in a way that's much more understandable to an actor. And I mean, I think really all of them. I mean, um Alicia Hannah Kim, she gave
Yeah.
me like she was always there for me. Like she was always grateful that now we had more Koreans on the show because she kind of was like one of the only few. And like I mean just overall a lot of the other I'm just gonna call them kids. Obviously they're not kids, but like
Right.
all the Miyagi kids, or Miyagi Fang or whatever you call them. they just, I mean, they're all around the same age as I am, but they're way more experienced in this industry and just
Mm,
like I said, this is like my first like role. So to be able to pick their brains and like be around the same age and just yeah, it was something that you can't really you can't sign up a class for like that kind of information, you
right.
know? It was like a master class of just like everything. So yeah, I learned so much from everyone, even a lot of the crew, just everyone there, honestly. You know.
Mm. So what are you hoping for, like the CK fans? What are you hoping to get out of the first part when they tune in to watch it?
Um, what I hope they get out of it or
Yeah. What do you hope they
um
enjoy out of it?
I hope that that the wait for how long now? Has it been like
Over a year and a half, maybe even
year and
more.
a half, maybe
That's
even
what,
2 years since season 5 came out? I hope that the wait was worth it, and I can confidently say, even though I'm biased because I'm in the season, obviously, but as a fan, I think this is definitely the best season yet, and there's so much that's gonna happen, and there's gonna be stuff that no, like what I think the Cobra Kai fans do really well with is like having these theories of like what's gonna happen, right?
yeah.
But I can confidently say that there's so many curveballs that nobody's gonna know, you know? Like you said, like at the end of episode 5, like nobody saw that coming, right? So like there's a lot more stuff like that. So yeah, I think everyone should be excited to see what's coming, yeah.
Amazing. Brandon, let's end this by like how now. Actually, before we end this, is
Mhm.
there anything else coming out for you that you want to talk about or promote? Like people that should be looking out for that you got coming out?
Oh yeah, thank you. I mean, I have my own social media. I actually do a lot of comedy sketches on my YouTube channel. If you search up Brandy H. Lee, you should be able to find it. But yeah, I have a lot of comedy sketches, like action comedy. I think it's very different from it's like a wide range of characters that I play, so it's
Yeah,
very different from Kwon. I think
right.
so if anyone's looking forward to seeing some more of the content that I'm in, feel free to check that out. But yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Actually, you
Thank
know
you.
what? You said Quan. I got one more question. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite quote from Quan?
Ooh. Um, so far, I got a quote from just episode 3's favorite quote. Um, I think the one where I'm like, Waba, Bali Waba, which means like, hurry up, come face me, you know, in Korean. I think that's the one because that felt really natural in the moment, and I think it just kind of, if you were to like only be able to see 2 seconds of Kwon, if you watch that clip, you can immediately tell what kind of person this
Right.
is, you know. So yeah, I would have to say that one, yeah.
Actually, there's. I have one more question that I thought of it.
Huh?
I wrote it here. John from the Big Three tweeted out, "Learn this name, Brandon H. Lee." Did
Oh,
you ever?
what?
He tweeted this out a couple of weeks, or it might have been a week ago. What's your thoughts on that tweet?
Whoa. Well, John Hurwitz is awesome. That's amazing. Thank you, John. Yeah, I mean that's awesome for one of the creators of the show that I've been such a big fan of to just really go out of his way to shout me out like that. It's I'm super honored. So actually I remember when we shot episode 3, this is kind of like a side story, but John was mainly on set with Ralph, kind of watching the monitor when we did the board break.
Okay.
Um, when I did like the 720 kick, and that was the very first shot of the show that I was in. So I was obviously really nervous going into it, but then right after we did that, like I had gained a lot of confidence from their guidance, and I remember so distinctly. I'm gonna remember this till the day I die. Is right after we they called Ralph called cut, him and John came running out of the tent, the director's tent, and John looked at me, he shook my hand and said, "Welcome to Cobra Kai." And I was like, "Oh my goodness." Like I still get chills just thinking about it, but yeah, John Hurwitz is awesome. He's awesome.
Amazing. I see big things for you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Elias. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me on the show.
Uh,
Yeah, it was a blast, man. Thank you.
we'll have to continue this chat when part two comes out.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
part
do
two.
it.
Let's do it.
All right. So yeah.